Hi guys, this is Gino Hart coming to you from Benoni from the Manger Care Centre. I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank the Benoni community for coming out to support the Tintanic project as you have here at the Manger Care Centre. It's a wonderful, wonderful venue and the turnout has been incredible. We just thought we'd just quickly take you through a walkthrough of the model that I've built, and so you guys could learn a little something about what I do and why I have such a huge fascination for it. We have some artifacts on display with the Titanic. Some of them are replicas, but they are authentic as well. They come from overseas, from a company called Titanic Salvage and Preservation. They were kind enough to sponsor the artifacts which are secondary to the Titanic with the aim of actually building them into the ship over time. It will ensure the Titanic's survival long after I am gone and give her immediate historical value. The Titanic has been a crazy dream ever since it began in the year 2014, and even my mother said it was a crazy undertaking, but I think it's paid off. The Titanic is the largest Titanic model in Africa and the 5th largest in the entire world. The Titanic itself is based off the Titanic ship that sank in 1912 with an enormous loss of life of 1,523 people. Of course, only 705 people survived the actual sinking. There's a lot of stuff that happened. Of course, you've got the bow section over here, and over here you've got the forward main mast with the crow's nest and the crow's nest bell. Of course, this would have been rung by Frederick Fleet, who was the lookout for the Titanic, and he saw the fateful iceberg on the night of April 14th, 1912, and he would have rung the bell 3 times to indicate that something was dead ahead of the ship. Of course, it was the fateful iceberg that ripped open a gash in the side of the ship that caused the ship to have a lot of damage and caused 5 of the watertight compartments to open up and flood, and that of course sealed the Titanic's fate. Then you've got the well deck over here. It's not called the well deck because it was built very well. Actually called the well deck because it formed a well. And of course you've got cargo hatches, and they go all the way down into the bottom of the ship, and your famous cargo cranes. The cranes, of course, White Star Line were very, very chuffed with themselves that these cranes could handle up to 3.5 tons of baggage at any given time. When you watch archival footage of these cranes in use, it's actually quite scary because the baggage is just going everywhere, left and right and swinging. It's almost dangerous. You've got your forward first class cabins and the bridge and the wheelhouse of the ship. This is where the Titanic project started in 2014. It dictated what the rest of the ship was going to look like in terms of width and height and length. And of course it's a very famous facet and everybody knows what it looks like. On this side of the boat deck you've got Captain Smith's quarters. You've actually got his sitting room and his bedroom and then his bathroom. This is your number 1 funnel. Of course you see it's just as tall as I am. That gives you an indication as to how big the Titanic is in terms of height. The number 4 funnel at the back of the ship was actually a dummy funnel, a fake funnel added to make the ship look bigger. It didn't really serve any real purpose. Further down on the boat deck you find the grand staircase, first class entrance of the ship. There were 5 grand staircases, one on top of the next, running through the ship all the way down to the bottom, and then 2 in the back, one on top of the next. Of course, very, very famous photographs exist of these grand staircases, but it's interesting to notice that there's not one grand staircase photograph of the Titanic in existence. They're all of the identical sister ship, the Olympic. In 1925, they tried to modernize the Olympic, so they sanded those beautiful oak staircases down and repainted them avocado green. What? We do the same with Ball and Claw, we paint it white. Of course, further down the boat deck, you'll find a lot of Titanic DVDs. just a little joke. The first class lounge roof, which was a raised roof, it actually made the room very, very large. On this side of the ship you had the reading and writing room and also the gymnasium on that side. It's very, very interesting how they laid out the ship in terms of first class accommodations being right at the top of the ship. Of course, further off, you've got smoking room of the first class engineers. Of course, the engineers would have come around here. They had a little mess where they can have dinner and food. And then, of course, your aft grand staircases as explained. And then here's your number 4 dummy funnel, which was added to make the ship look bigger. It's situated right on top of the raised roof, once again, of the first class smoking room, which is the room in which Titanic designer Thomas Andrews died the night of April 15th, 1912. And then you've got your second class entrance right at the back of the ship over here. Of course, it's very famous for photographs which contained Lawrence Beasley, who was a second class school teacher in 1912. He said that the first thing you noticed when the ship had hit the iceberg was that your feet didn't quite land on the stairs as they were supposed to, and that was the first indication that anything was wrong with the ship. He survived the sinking of the Titanic by luck. Of course, you got the second class boat deck at the top, and this over here is a first class boat deck. And of course, it's interesting to notice how first class passengers didn't like this part of the boat deck, because on top here, of course, you've got second class, and that meant that second class passengers would be looking down on them. They didn't like that at all. You've got some more cargo cranes and cargo hatches going on, and your aft mast over here as well, and connected to the mast running all over the top of the ship's four funnels is the cable work for the Marconi wireless system, which was of course for the messages that went out from the ship to land or to other ships at sea. And Titanic, interestingly enough, was the first ship in history to actually send out the SOS. You've got the second class boat deck running off into the aft well deck, and then running onto the back of the ship, you have the stern of the ship, which is beautifully rounded. It's actually called the stern or the poop deck, and of course not for pooping. It's actually there, you know, for the third class passengers to have a recreation area so that they can come out and enjoy some fresh sea air. Your aft docking bridge, of course, is at the back. It will still receive stuff like the steering wheel and the telegraph mechanisms, and of course ending off at the back of the ship with the capstans and the flag pole. Of course, you've got your propellers on the bottom there as well, and the rudder of the ship. I started building the Titanic in 2014, and I can't tell you, it's taken 3 long years just to build the rudder of the ship. It was a sight for sore eyes when this rudder finally appeared. And of course, it's a wonderful project, and I just want to thank everybody for coming out and supporting me in my quest to get the Titanic to go around the country. Thank you so very much for coming out.